You're listening to The Power Project. I'm your host, Brandy Voth. I also like to think that I'm your guide along this journey of purpose, which is where you will hopefully end up at the end of this podcast. I'm a mom, a wife, a daughter, a friend, an entrepreneur, an advocate in the fight against human trafficking. I wear a lot of hats, y'all, but don't we all? And most importantly, I am passionate about inspiring women to go out and lead purpose-filled lives while owning your God-given power. I have this crazy belief that we are all better when we lift each other up, which is exactly why I created this platform to spotlight other women that are leading in ministry, business, and nonprofits, in the hopes that you at home will be inspired by their stories to get up and take action in order to walk in purpose and own your God-given power. Without further ado, let's jump right in. Welcome back to the Power Project. You guys, we have a first today. We have an active duty lieutenant in the U.S. Navy. And I know that I have always said this is a girls show for women by women. And guess what? Miss Kellie Hall is the epitome of femininity and power, you guys. She aligns so much with the brand and the message of this show. And I know that you guys are going to thoroughly enjoy this interview with her. Hey, Kellie, how are you?
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Brandy. I'm so thrilled and absolutely love what you're doing here and inspiring women. I think it's so awesome.
So I one of my absolute favorite things that has come out of this show has been I love networking. That's one of my favorite things ever. And building relationships and expanding your reach through others. So one of my favorite things about this show has been the amount of people that I have been able to meet just simply because I have a podcast. And so you and I were connected through a mutual friend who is also a podcast host. And tell me, how did you and Rita get connected?
We connected through Instagram, and it's such a powerful tool. You know, it gets a lot of slack because of social media and that stigma nowadays, but I love utilizing Instagram to connect with other women. And I simply looked up hashtag women empowerment podcasts. That was it. And I knew that I wanted to continue to project my message. And there's only so much you can do on your own. You absolutely have to network with people. So I looked at the hashtag and I found Rita, and Rita was like, yes, absolutely. And she's all the way in Texas and I'm in Los Angeles. So we connected. And then after we aired our podcast together, we got to talking again. And I was like, well, if you know anyone, and she's like, oh, I know the perfect person. So she referred me to you, which has been awesome.
That is so cool. And she and I were connected via a Facebook group, and we were attending the same conference, and we were in this group as attendees of the conference and connected there, started chatting, and she found out I had a podcast. She's like, look, I'm looking to launch a podcast. Can I call you and, ask all the questions? I'm like, look, I'm brand spanking new, but I will give you what I have learned along the way. So, and then, we met in person and we've done interviews on each other's shows. She's really great. And she's just had really awesome momentum with her, her show. Yeah. So if you're listening to this today, we're going to go ahead and plug Rita Bautista back in. I want to say she was around episode maybe 30 or 40, something like that. I'll have to put it in the show notes, but after she did her interview with you, she reached out and she was like, I've got a really good guest that I think you're going to want to interview on the show. And she's kind of has a unique situation. So you're a lieutenant in the Navy, and then you're also competing in the Miss California pageant competition, not pageant competition, right?
Exactly. Yeah. We typically prefer competition over pageant just because of the stigma.
Right. Well, and I like it also because I think there's so many powerful women that can use the platform to give voice to their mission. And it really, it's more than, parading around and looking cute, right? It really is a competition. Yeah. So tell us about, how did you get when did you decide to go ahead and go for this competition? Where did that start at?
So from the beginning, my pageantry journey was kind of unusual. 3 years ago, I was sitting in a hotel room and getting ready to move to Ohio for the very first time. I was being sent there on Navy orders, and I saw a commercial for Miss America. Had never done a pageant in my entire life. I was never like the pretty, cute girl in high school or anything like that. So, aesthetically, my confidence was never there. But by that point, I was 24 and was very confident in my capabilities. So when I saw this commercial, I thought, wow, what an amazing way to connect with women who are like minded. And I hopped online and I saw that Miss Ohio USA was within 6 weeks. So I applied and I was accepted on a whim and, had that experience of meeting a ton of women. I was voted Miss Congeniality. I finished in the top 15 that year. And I thought, okay, that's it. Like my pageant journey's over. It was a one-time thing just to meet women. And I did. I met my best friend, Mariah Payne, that way. It was absolutely awesome. But fast forward to now, I'm competing in Miss California USA, and my journey within the last 3 years has been very different than it initially began. Primarily because the Navy actually ended up falling in love with the idea of me competing in pageants. Um, it wasn't a very popular opinion. I received a lot of cyberbullying and people kind of just trashing me online, saying that, it was a mockery of the Navy and would make me look bad as a leader. But, overcoming that, the big part of the Navy, specifically America's Navy, they're a public relations department for the Navy. They thought, what an amazing way to share this juxtaposition of being a female, being feminine, and also serving in the U.S. Navy. So they, were like, I think we should keep going on this. And so I decided to compete a second and third time in Ohio, ended up placing fourth runner up, and again was planning on hanging up the dress. And I'm like, nope, that's it. But now I've relocated to Los Angeles on Navy orders, and this is my last time to compete for the title of Miss California USA, because I'm 27 and the maximum age is 27. But it's just such a large platform, and the women are remarkable, and the journey to the stage is full of self-reflection and personal development. So at this point, I would just be stupid not to continue trying, because regardless of if you walk away with a crown or not, it's an exceptional way to build yourself as a person.
So I think it's really, really impressive that the Navy came on board with this for starters, because immediately I was like, how on earth did she get the U.S. Navy to back her in Miss California competition? But in the time that we're in right now with, I don't know about you, but I know that I feel like there's such this awakening of females right now. And I think that it's really, really smart on the Navy's part to back this and say, hey, she can be a total badass in the Navy, and she can also go compete in the Miss California competition and use her voice to bring awareness to whatever is on her heart that she needs to bring awareness to, and also enlighten people on the fact that women can look pretty and still be in the Navy and serve their country. So well done on the Navy's part.
Well, thank you. And I completely agree. I think that we're really in a new era, not only in society and where women are finding their place, but for the military as well, specifically the Navy. And, my experience when I first joined the Navy, it was very unpopular for me to wear makeup. I continuously received, comments about being too bubbly or having too much personality or need to change my appearance because I wouldn't be taken seriously. And this was all the time. And I tell you, it only takes one person to believe in you. And this was when I checked on board in Ohio. my commanding officer at the time, Commander Esther Bopp, she was this awesome powerhouse commander of a female in the Navy, and she took a chance on me. And she said, you know what? I think this is awesome. I think that we need you to be in that pageant to show what women can do. And she was really the pioneer behind me, getting the start of, the Navy's approval. And then that launched into America's Navy later finding me, and their marketing team, also being led by a female, Leslie Skelton. She was like, this is awesome. We need to showcase this. And it only takes a handful of people to see that quality and really embrace it. But you got to keep pushing. Whenever you have a message to share, there is someone out there who wants to tell it. So I'm very grateful that it only took a couple really powerful people with voices to say, let's share this story. Thank goodness.
So I want to back up a little bit because you're doing great things and you're sharing that message with the world. You've got the Navy backing you. You're competing in this competition. And we've learned how you, on a whim, decided to compete for this competition. But where was the initial thought to join the Navy? How did you end up on that path?
Well, I get asked this question a lot, and there was never really a moment, like I didn't grow up thinking that the Navy was for me. I was very much just like so many other women and young girls out there who didn't see my place in the Navy. I was a cheerleader, I was a dancer. I ran track and field in high school, but with a full face of makeup on. I loved fashion and dresses and, played with Barbies as a little girl, not G.I. Joes. So what I saw, that stereotype of women in the military or just people in the military in general, was not me. So I pretty much fought the idea of going into the Navy tooth and nail, but my parents were like, just give the Naval Academy a shot. They kept sending me to the Naval Academy cross-country camps. I kept dismissing it. But a quality that I always had was maximizing my potential. No matter what I was in 5th grade, I didn't just want to be class secretary. I wanted to be class president. And then I grew up to, not just want to be, a strong female leader, but potentially be in the Senate one day. I just always had these big goals and dreams. So when it came time to accept an appointment from a university or the Naval Academy, I just knew that I needed to choose the most challenging, difficult university to go to. And for me, that was U.S. Naval Academy. And I knew if I didn't go to the Naval Academy, I would always look back and wonder, what if? What if I'd gone into the Navy? What if I had become an officer? Because that was the scarier choice. So, I was looking at a ton of different schools and being recruited for track at a lot of different places. But once I had received my appointment to the U.S. Naval Academy, I knew I had to go. And that's pretty much been the theme throughout the duration of my life, is if something is kind of scary or more challenging, I know I have to do it because the only thing that's going to come from it is growth.
That's good. I like that. And it's funny because did you feel like at any given moment when you're trying to decide, and I don't know about you, but I know that when I was 18 and going to college and thinking of all the things and all the dreams, and I had very similar interests as you, and wanted to be in politics and wanted to be in the foreign service and wanted to be an ambassador. And it's funny because I had all of these plans for my life that I thought was the way that I should go. And then I can look back now and see God's hand in all of it and see this is exactly the path that was laid out for me, that he created for me. There was nothing I could do to mess it up. So do you really feel like while there were other opportunities, this was the one? Do you believe that you were led down the Navy by a bigger reason than just your parents wanting you to go there?
Wholeheartedly. I mean, you look back, and I just recently spoke about this with another woman. Everything makes sense, but when you look back a few years later, at the time you have no idea how divine intervention. It's just coming in and hand selecting. God is picking exactly where you need to go. And back then I doubted, especially when it got really hard those first few years in the Navy. I was like, why on earth did I do this to myself? Like, this is the hardest thing. And then now I'm like, oh, I had to go through that season of my life to appreciate where I am now. So there's no question that my visit to the Naval Academy was supposed to be the very last college visit I went on, because I'd gone to several universities and I saw, you know, and I'm not trying to say speak below anyone that went to a different university, but I saw the fancy football fields and sorority houses and the fancy locker rooms, and I went to Ole Miss and I went to Mississippi State, and I saw, the fun. But after a while, after so many visits, they started to blend together. And then my very last college visit was the Naval Academy. And I saw the students walking around with their shoulders up a little higher, with their uniforms on, carrying themselves with such respect and saying yes ma'am and no sir. And their classes were harder, and everything just was held to a much higher standard. And that is what caught my attention, and I could have dismissed it if I had gone to that university sooner. And then I have always wanted to be in media. I grew up wanting to be an anchor on the Today Show. So, I thought, oh, if I join the Navy, I'll just, I'll land a role in public affairs. I'll be a reporter for the Navy. I'm in media immediately. Awesome. Well, I didn't get that. I ended up being selected as a surface warfare officer outside of the Naval Academy. So I had the least glamorous job. I was on a ship, on deployment out at sea, driving a warship with Japanese Maritime Self-Defense Force. Like, by no means was I getting prepped and ready for the camera at all. And again, going through those long hours at sea and on watch, I was like, why did I pick this? Why is God making me go through this season of my life? This is nothing like I wanted to do. But now I am working synonymously with in recruiting, in public relations, and media to share my story. And I needed to go through all of those aspects of my life in order to tell this powerful story. I needed to go through hardship and adversity and really find that power within myself to get through it all, because God's not going to put you in a situation that you can't handle. And people think that that's cliche, but when you're on the other side of it, you're like, wow, I had to go through that. I had to go through that to appreciate where I'm at now.
Yeah. And then now, and since then, like you said, you've been able to lean into what you enjoy, which is really motivational speaking and empowering other women, helping other women find their power. And you've become a top, I believe I read that you're a top recruiter in the nation for the Navy now. Is that correct?
Yeah. I won Medical Recruiter of the Year, my last command, which was pretty awesome.
That's awesome. And so the Navy has really given you the platform to be able to go out and start there, but it hasn't just stayed within the Navy. You speak to a lot of different areas to help women see their power. And you and I, we talked about this before the show, which is so funny. Tell me about your motivational speaking and your personal theme of power.
Yeah, you really don't think that you're doing anything different when you're staying true to who you are, and it just comes natural to you. So when I signed up for Miss Ohio, I didn't think it was like insane. And people thought that I was absolutely nuts. And I was like, well, why wouldn't you do something that's more challenging? Like, of course. And then being in the Navy, being a naval officer is my job, but I think I've always naturally been a leader. So I don't see it as crazy that I'm also a naval officer. I'm like, of course I would join the Navy. Like, I want to be a leader to other people. Well, I didn't quite see these things as special or unique until, the Navy reached out to me and said, we want to have you at the National Girl Scouts Convention speaking to thousands of young girls as our featured speaker. And I was like, wait, what? is what I'm doing like interesting and unique? Like I had no idea. And then, same thing with about 3 years ago now, the Navy reached out and said, we want to feature you in our Navy documentary, and we want to film you in our own episode for Faces of the Fleet. And we want to highlight that juxtaposition of femininity and leadership and service because of your involvement in pageantry. And I was like, what? Like, is this, again, like, is this that different? And I've come to find it is. It is different. But what I try to tell other women is we all share this power inside of us. And that's what led me to speak at the Ohio Women in Business and speak in middle schools and high schools, ruling our experiences. I'm now a mentor at the University of Southern California as well for women, because I find that I did not recognize that I was powerful and exactly how to use that power. I just kind of ended up falling into these different areas. And then when people told me not to do it, I said, why not? And then I did it anyways. But a lot of women aren't as maybe fiery or stubborn as I am. So there's a lot of women out there who are being told, no, you don't have time for that. You should not start a business. And they're like, oh, okay. Or they're being told, don't wear makeup because, that's unpopular in your career field. And they're going, oh, okay. But that's not the case. If you are strong, you are powerful. So what I want to do when I speak to a group of women is not just empower them, but help them find that power, because people really can't be empowered until they know what makes them powerful. So, for me, it was, I had a talent for photography. So I attached myself to a mentor, and then I launched my photography business in 2014, Kelly Renee Photography. Then I had a passion for modeling. So I reached out to an agency and another mentor, and I signed with an agency back in 2016. And then, I fell into pageantry, but when I decided to take it more seriously, I found a mentor, and I sought out coaches to help me become more successful in the Miss USA organization. So a lot of these women have a passion, but they don't know that the next step is seeking out resources, finding that mentor, and then owning that role, because people are going to tell you you should not do it. So ignoring those people and doing it anyways. And so that's what I want to help them find, that power within, because it all starts from that initial idea of, wow, maybe I am good at something. But they're afraid to do that. They're afraid to do anything with it.
Hey guys, if you've considered starting a podcast like I have, but you're overwhelmed by how to actually launch, I've created a basics of podcasting course over on Skillshare. So you can sign up for my course and get 2 months of free premium membership. Skillshare is where I learn all types of skills that I don't know how to do otherwise. I'll include the link in the show notes. You can head over to Skillshare and search Brandy Voth's class, The Basics of Podcasting. So I have a question for you, because I have a theory. Did you, when you were growing up, were your parents the type that, did you have a support system that spoke life into you and affirmed that you really could just do anything you set your mind to? Did you have that, or did you have to find that?
Well, you hit the nail on the head. And listeners, she did not know any of this. I had the most amazing parents in the absolute world. They, I didn't appreciate them enough when I was growing up, but now as a grown woman who's been out of the house for 11 years, holy cow, they just reaffirmed me all of the time, and they really instilled that confidence in me. I look back at photos of myself, and I tell you, I was just this scrawny, brace-faced child with bad highlights, but with the biggest smile and biggest personality. And it was because my mom continually told me, just because you're not this Vogue model right now doesn't mean you're still beautiful. Just because you are the shortest person in that classroom does not mean you have a voice. And they both worked hard to just make sure that my confidence was never hindered, and that I always kind of remained strong no matter what adversity I faced in middle school and high school, because those are such tough times. I felt uncomfortable being the only kid in class who, I literally would wear like blazers to school in a briefcase. And because it made me feel so like confident, and I anchored the school news and I like to look professional. So people would make fun of me, and my mom would be like, no, you dress for the job that you want. So if you want to be an anchor, you walk into that school and you feel confident. And I'd be like, yeah, mom, thanks. And I would have my briefcase and I'd smile. And eventually people were just like, oh, that's Kellie. Like that's the way Kellie Hall is. And so, I started to channel like it's okay if you're a little bit different. And I learned that power is not in your stature; it's within the delivery of your message. So, regardless if I was small or brace faced or awkward or quirky, if my message was strong, it was going to be heard. And I'm so thankful that they instilled those qualities in me, because I'm still tiny. I'm still only 5'2" on 100 pounds, but it's absolutely incredible to work in a male dominated field and get that kind of respect from your sailors, because they want to hear what you have to say.
Okay, so I was right.
You were exactly right.
And the reason is you and I have very similar platforms, very similar mission statements. We have completely different backgrounds as to how we both appeared in this same circle. But I've always been confident, and people are always asking like, well, you're just so confident. And a couple of years ago, I really leaned into this idea because I thought, how do I help coach others to become confident? How do I help them realize their own power, like you and I discussed? And that is what birthed the Power Project, in the same manner that you have come alongside this same type of mission. And I kept digging into it, and I thought, it really comes from, first and foremost, having a support system that says, I believe in you. And I did not realize how many women do not have that support system, haven't grown up with that support system, didn't have parents that said, you can do anything you set your mind to, and it's okay to be different. And so that I created the Power Project for that one specific reason, that I thought, if I'm seeing all of these women with limited mindsets and they don't believe in themselves and they didn't have that support system growing up, then I just need to create the support system for them that says, you can do this. You're strong enough. And that is exactly why I bring women like yourself onto the show, because the whole goal of this online community, the whole goal of this podcast, anytime I speak to women, it is to say, hey, here's another lady that is another, little bitty chick out here that is telling you that you can do this, that whatever you set your mind to. And I never want people at home to listen to these stories and just simply be inspired. I want them to listen to these stories and hear your story and see that, hey, this gal went into the Navy, but then saw a commercial for Miss America and decided she would go do it 6 weeks later. So I appreciate you being on the show for that specific key point, that there are other women out there that are building this community and this support system and telling the listeners at home that they can do anything they set their mind to.
Yes.
And yeah, and if there are any moms listening to this show right now, whether your daughter is 1, 2, 5, 10, 20, speak into her, speak life into her, because we need more females that are owning their power. We need more females that are stepping into this role and being a voice and doing all the big things. What is your, out of all of your, because you've been doing, speaking for 3 years, and you're speaking into, is your target age of girls that you talk to? Are they typically younger girls, teenage girls? What's your target audience range?
I've learned I don't really have a target audience, but my delivery of my message is a little bit different. Um, and to go back to what you were just saying, I'm so grateful for that support system with my mom and my dad. They were the first people to challenge the status quo. I would come home and I'd say, Mom, it's not popular for me to wear this, or Mom, it's not popular for me to do this, or Mom, people are making fun of me. And she would always answer, why? Why not? Why can't you wear makeup when you're running track and field? And that was a legitimate thing when I was a freshman. It's not cool to, be girly on the track team. Like, we wear our sweats and we wear our track suits. Like, that's who we are. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to continue being cute and feminine. And so my mom would say, why not? And now, as an adult and as a naval officer, I have found that phrase to be so powerful because people will say no, or they'll say I shouldn't. And I say, why not? And 9.9 times out of 10, their answer is, well, just because it's not typical, or like it's not popular, or it's just not normal. And I'm like, well, we're not all here to be normal. That's the point. We're here to be different and unique, and we are different and unique. And so when I am speaking to, if it's elementary students or girls in middle school, I channel that student I once was. They all have a much more difficult upbringing because of things like social media, because of that constant rate of comparison. I was simply comparing myself to Avril Lavigne because her poster was on my wall. But they are literally seeing things on social media all the time, and it's not real, and they don't understand that yet. So for me, it's kind of telling them to, embracing confidence because they don't even know what power is yet. And then for women who are in college, it's not just confidence, but finding power and knowing what to do with it. And then when I speak to women or women in business, it's being strong and confident enough to go against the status quo because they're probably doing stuff that's not popular within their industry or is atypical to what other women their age are doing. So it just kind of depends on the audience, but there's a message for everyone because we're all going through different things in that time of our lives.
And I think you hit the nail on the head with the different stages of life and what needs to be spoken to at that point, because I do think that that yes, the teaching the confidence at the younger age is crucial because you're not ever going to be able to own your power until you learn to be confident in yourself. And then the women, I'm a bit older than you, I believe. I believe you're behind me a bit. Do you mind? How old are you?
I'm 27.
Yeah, see, I've got a decade on you. And
No.
but I love this because this is what I always tell people, like, it doesn't matter how young you are or how old you are. It's never too late to either find your power, own your power, step into your power. There's always a place that you can find to stand there. And on that note, what does the actual, I know why I personally chose power to be my theme within my brand and my company, but what led you to the word power? What does that mean to you?
Well, I believe, I've been trying to dissect exactly, what do I stand for, what my brand is. And ultimately, I took a lot of self-reflection and I reflected on my stories and what those past experiences have led to. And it made me more powerful. It's not just confidence, not just empowering. I feel powerful at different moments of my life, but ultimately I found my power. I know how to utilize my skill and the gifts that I got from God. And so that is, where I found power from in that aspect. But also, you know, when I realized for women, it's not just Here's how to find confidence. Here's how to be more confident. Let's empower each other. Like, what is empowering each other? Like, is that just doing a couple of nice comments on Instagram? Is that taking some great photos for people? Is that, giving them a shout out on social media? Like, there's a lot of people who are trying to empower each other, but a lot of people don't know why they're powerful to begin with. And so that is why, I'm launching this campaign of the power within, because we are all passionate about something. Whether you're passionate about makeup or cooking or motivational speaking or service or whatever it is, you're passionate. And so, first of all, nail down that passion. I'll give a quick shout out to Miss Ohio contestant Bree Lang. She was passionate about cooking. She just wanted to cook. Like, that was it. And she didn't know. She's like, oh, I can't be Miss Ohio because I'm not starting a nonprofit, or I'm not an attorney, or doing these other crazy things. And she ultimately found cooking to benefit other women because she started partnering with Dress for Success and giving them quick, 5-minute recipes. So they're not only receiving clothes from from Success to go to interviews and, benefit them professionally, but they're also receiving healthy recipes to do in under 10 minutes. And that is where she found her power. So it's something you're passionate about. Find that passion. And the next is protect it. Protect that power, because again, people are going to say that's not, something that you should do, or that's not typical, or it's not popular, whatever it is. Just like me, when I found pageantry, my goodness, the haters online were alive. They just could not believe that a naval officer could compete in Miss USA. And, I had a decision to make at 24. Do I want to listen to them, or am I going to be the person that spearheads this movement? And I said, I'm strong enough to handle it. I know why I'm doing this. I'm not doing Miss USA for fame because I want Instagram followers. I want a voice, and I want a platform, and I want to meet people. So shame on you for attacking me. So whatever your passion is, protect it, because I bet you people are going to have something to say about it, and you just have to ignore it and channel your intention. And then the last part of my Power Within campaign is finding that mentor. I have found a mentor in every single area of my life. Is it entrepreneurship and photography? I have a mentor. Is it modeling? I have a mentor. Is it pageantry? I have 5 coaches and mentors to help me with pageantry. All of these people are people that I have reached out to, that I've connected with. I've gone out of my way to, pick their brain, and you're only going to get better as long as you're also seeking power from others as well. So I found that I am, really just inspired by the power of other people. So I wouldn't be doing justice if I didn't help them find it to begin with.
I love that. And we have so much of the similar message. It's just mind blowing to me. You're going to have to, it's awesome. You're going to have to go back and listen to episode 1 of the show. And
Okay.
don't judge me on like technical aspects of it, because I was building the plane as I fly it. But I really had no idea what I was doing. But I talked there about why I wanted to create the Power Project. And for me, power is an acronym, and it for this brand, it stands for purpose, ownership, wisdom, empowerment, and reach.
Love it.
I just wanted a way to bring it, because sometimes it can have a stigma of, I think of like a man like having a power trip, right? When I think about like when you first think about the word power. But if you go to the Bible and the scriptures, and like Ephesians 3:20 is what I built the entire brand over, about the power that's within all of us. Just like you're talking about with your campaign, it's not power that we woke up with, that was just all of a sudden, look at me, I'm confident, I'm powerful, I'm walking in purpose, I've found my passions. But if everyone will take the opportunity to step back, apply these steps that you've given, they can really unlock that power that is a God-given power that is gifted to each and every single one of us. Whether that looks like wearing a dress and walking across a stage, or it looks like baking the most amazing apple pie in the world to serve others, we all have our own individual powers. So I love what you are doing. I cannot wait to watch you compete from Miss California. So when are we going to be able to watch the competition?
Yes, so Miss California USA is in San Gabriel, California. It's January 23rd through 26th, and it will be available online. The best way to find out details is follow their Instagram at Miss CA USA. They'll be releasing a link to follow online. But definitely, if you want to follow me on Instagram or their Instagram, you'll be able to see updates.
So cool. And speaking of Instagram, Miss, I am killing it on social media. How can everyone find you? Give us your tags on Instagram.
Thank you. So my personal and my motivational speaking platform is found on Kellie Renee Hall. That's KELLIERENE. And then my Navy Instagram is Lieutenant Hall, and that is where I use for my recruiting and my hopefully inspiring others to potentially serve in the Navy.
That's awesome. I'm going to list all of that in the show notes so that everyone can find you. I think that every listener here needs to follow along with your journey and what you have going on. I think you're really doing amazing things for women in all areas, whether they are in a male-dominated career or they are struggling to find their voice. You're doing an awesome job. What is the one thing as we leave today that you would like someone sitting at home listening to this? Maybe it's a young lady trying to find her path in life, or maybe it's someone just trying to marry two different interests that they have. What's the one thing you would like to leave them with?
I would leave them with stop being afraid, because time goes by so quickly, and you blink and your 20s have gone by, you're starting your 30s have gone by. It's just moving so fast. So a lot of people aren't diving into their passions because they're afraid, or they don't know how, or they think the money is a problem or the time is a problem. There are always going to be a million excuses, but stop being afraid, because once you dive into something you're truly interested and invested in, it is the most rewarding thing. And then 5 years later, you'll look at your timeline. Like me, I just celebrated my 4-year business anniversary yesterday. I'm like, holy cow, I can't believe I got my license to own my business 4 years ago, and I've learned so much. So don't be afraid and just dive into it. Really amazing things happen.
I love that. Thank you so much for taking time to chat with us today.
Thanks, Brandy. Of course. I am so excited to connect with you in the future. It's been absolutely amazing.
Oh man, you guys, my favorite part about this show is the amazing women that I get to meet every single week. I love hearing their stories, and I love bringing their stories to you guys. I certainly hope that you're inspired to go out and lead your own purpose-filled lives after listening to these guests week in and week out. If you are inspired by something you've heard in this show, can I ask a favor? Can you go please write a review? Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. Give us a rating. We'll take 5 stars if you're feeling generous. And then tell all your friends about us so that we can continue to bring you these guests every single week. As always, I hope that you enjoyed this show, and I cannot wait to chat with you next week. But until then, you guys go out and lead your best purpose-filled lives.